Well, hey friends and neighbors, this is Chuck out at Sheraton Park Farms. Welcome back to the farm. So everybody's interested in raising chickens right now. And if you've got some or you're planning on getting some chickens, hang out with us for a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about feed, water, protection, housing, nest boxes, roosters, all kinds of stuff. Everything that you need to know to get off to it. I got chickens going crazy over here behind the camera. Everything you need to know about getting started right with your birds. Hang out with us for a little bit. Let's talk some chickens. All right, so everybody's interested in raising chickens nowadays. So if you're not careful, this is what you're going to end up with. I think we've got about probably close to 200 laying hens here. But let's talk about these birds, how you care for them, males, females, feed, water, nesting boxes, housing, netting, protection. Let's talk about all that kind of stuff. The one thing I do want to say early on is keep in mind this is very scalable. While we're doing this for 200 chickens, you would do the same thing on a smaller scale if you're on a backyard with a small backyard flock with maybe 8 or 10, or if you're a homesteader, you're doing 25 or 30. This is all very scalable. It's all easy up, easy down. So let's take a look at everything, see what we got going on here, and see if we can answer some of your big questions about raising chickens on your farm, homestead, or in your backyard flock. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some common questions that folks have related to males and female chickens. So a male chicken is called a rooster, and that right there is a prime example of a rooster. And let's see, here's another rooster. There's a big guy there. And then over here on the side, we've got a couple of females. So these are hens. Now, in order to have eggs, you have to have hens. Female chicken is the chicken that lays the egg. You don't have to have a rooster to have eggs unless you want those eggs fertilized, because you're either going to let a hen go broody and set on those eggs and hatch them out, or you have an incubator and you decide you want to try to incubate some of your own chicks. Otherwise, you don't have to have a male. Males are good for a number of different things though, besides reproduction and fertilization of the eggs. Males actually are really good protectors of the flock. You can hear that guy up there crowing, I think probably in the background. So he's crowing because he's either found a food source or he's trying to get the hens' attention for some reason. See, there they go. There's some hens wandering over there to see what's going on, see what he's up to. But the roosters are good protectors. They sound the alarm whenever there's an issue or a problem. They're really good at finding a food source and summoning the hens over to that. Now, if you are going to have roosters, you got to be careful on your ratio. You only want about 1 rooster for every 8 to 10 hens. Too many roosters can cause too much competition, and they can be really hard on your females. They'll start wearing those saddle feathers out, and they'll become aggressive, and they'll start fighting with each other, and you'll start getting some problems and issues. There goes a boy right there. See how all his tail feathers are gone? Him and some of the other guys have been fighting, so that's probably what's happened there. So 1 rooster for every 8 to 10 hens. We're a little bit heavy in this crowd right now, but we're not too bad heavy. Everybody seems to be getting along. The roosters aren't aggressive to the people whenever we come in. Housing. Let's talk about housing. There's a couple different ways you can do that. We have this. This is our egg mobile. This is a mobile coop that we keep our chickens in. And this thing moves very regularly with the chickens. Every couple of days we move the egg mobile with our chickens. Other folks will use a static coop with a run, and we've done that in the past. We've had a static coop that sits in one place with an area for the chickens to get out, wander around, roam around, scratch around for bugs and grubs and worms and all that kind of stuff. The problem that you'll run into with a static coop as opposed to a mobile coop is if that coop sits in the same place, and this can happen with a mobile coop as well. If your coop sits in one place for too long, those chickens will absolutely wear the ground out. They'll make it look like the surface of the moon. So you got to be careful about having your chickens in one place. It's fine if you do. You just need to know, oh, there's a male giving a female a hard time. That's just something that you're going to have to be aware of. And if you're going to leave that coop in one place for an extended period of time, you'll have to mitigate some mud and some smell issues and that kind of thing. So let's talk about water for your birds just a second. You want to make sure that your chickens have got a good, steady, never-ending supply of fresh, clean water. Now we elect to use this out here with our birds, and there's a couple of different watering systems. They make some galvanized drinkers that are like 5-gallon that you can use. They make some different style drinkers, but this is what we use for our egg birds. It's basically a plastic bowl with a float valve, it's called a little giant float valve that's hooked to a water hose. Now as the chickens come up and drink, the level of the water goes down, the valve opens up and refills. So the chickens have a continuous, never-ending supply of water. We don't have any water chores on these animals. Whenever we move the birds, we move the drinker, but they always have water. You can add a little bit of apple cider vinegar to this. That's good for digestion, it's good for a number of different things, but you can add just maybe a cap full of apple cider vinegar to this thing a couple times a day, and that's going to work out great for your chickens. But make sure you've got a way to get them a good supply of fresh, clean water. Let's talk about how we feed these guys. Now, there's a number of different ways you can do that, and what we like to do is we fill a couple of bulk feeders with a layer pellet that we buy from a local feed mill, and we fill this up, and the chickens just have the ability to come in here and access it anytime they want it. So these are a couple of wall-mounted feeders. Each one of these holds 50 pounds of feed. So every couple of days when they start getting low, we just come out and fill them up. Beat that one down today. And the chickens are able to access it right here. They come in, get what they want when they want it. You can also put some free choice feed out. There's some field feeders that you can put out on the ground that the chickens can access. Another thing that we will start doing here in a few weeks, we really need to be doing it now, is we'll put out a bowl with some grit. And grit is just crushed up rock that the chickens eat, and it goes in their crop, and that helps them break down the food and digest the food so that they can make better use of it as opposed to trying to digest those big pellets of food. Some folks will also feed oyster shell, and oyster shell is exactly what it says it is. It's crushed up shells from oysters. The purpose in oyster shell is to add calcium to the diet of the chicken. If these egg birds don't have a good source of calcium, they will begin to cannibalize their own skeletal system to provide calcium for the shells for the eggs that they're making. So you want to make sure you're feeding them a good, high quality layer pellet that has calcium in it, and or you're also feeding them some free choice oyster shell. That'll help them to, again, have good solid shells for those eggs that you're wanting. So I know we've talked a little bit about brooders and brooding chickens and buying baby chicks from big box stores and ordering them online or buying them from the farm, a local farm and that kind of thing. But another option for buying chickens is sometimes we'll find folks that will sell what's called a ready-to-lay pullet. And those are the chickens that are about 16 to 20 weeks old that are ready to start laying. So someone has bought a chick or they've hatched a chick and they've gone ahead and put the work in for that first couple of months to get that chicken up to size and to age to start laying eggs. Now, ready-to-lay pullets are going to start laying eggs, but they're not going to be very consistent. Typically, a chicken is not going to become very consistent at laying eggs until it's about 6 or 7 months old. So those ready-to-lay pullets may be a little bit sketchy, you know, one today, one in 3 or 4 days, then one the next day, and then maybe not one for a week, but they will eventually get with the program. So keep that in mind. If you're going to be buying ready-to-lay pullets, go visit the farm where you're going to be buying them from. Is it a reputable farm? That you want to be sure to look at the flock and see the flock, see all the chickens that they've got. Are they relatively clean? Are they in a good environment? Plenty of fresh air, plenty of sunshine? Are they getting plenty of fresh, clean water? And those kinds of things. You just want to make sure that you're getting chickens that are healthy and are ready to go and are not going to cause problems whenever you get them home. Talk a little bit about protecting your chickens. We use this. This is netting from Premier One. We've also got some netting from our friends over at Starkline. I'll leave a link in the description down below. Very similar to this, a little more cost effective and got some different features. But we use an electrified netting on our chickens, and this helps to protect the birds from ground predators. Things like skunks, raccoons, possums, minks, stray dogs, that kind of thing. And this netting is kind of space age, and we put this out all up around the area where the chickens are at, and then we put an energizer on it, and then it energizes the netting so that if a small ground critter comes up, touches this, they're going to kind of get the shock of their life. It's going to deter them from coming in, getting them away. The idea of the netting is not so much to keep the chickens in as it is to keep the predators out, but the netting also helps us concentrate the chickens where we want them and keeps them in the area that we want them and keeps them off the front porch and, you know, out of the pigs and all that kind of thing. So the netting is a great way to protect your flock from ground predators. Aerial predators, we have a couple of different defense mechanisms there. Let me show you what those are. So aerial predators, one issue that you're going to run into will be hawks, and we have a hawk problem in our neck of the woods. And this guy right here, this is Bruce the goose, and Bruce hates everybody and everything except for the chickens. Bruce, if an aerial predator or even a crow comes flying over, Bruce is going to raise all kinds of stink and all kinds of fuss, and the chickens are going to run under the coop. So Bruce is our primary guardian. He's our guard goose that lives in with our chickens. Now, we've got a couple other guys over here that are also helpful in keeping predators run off. See if we can find them. Right there, our guineas. Those are the loudest critters on the face of God's earth. If anything pulls in the driveway, flies over, walks past, anything that they're not used to, those guineas are going to raise all kinds of fuss. So we keep a few guineas in. Guineas are also good guard animals. They're really more of an alarm mechanism than they are a guard animal. They're kind of ugly, but they work good. Came out yesterday, the guineas were raising all kinds of fuss. Looked up, sure enough, we had a hawk flying over. So something else that you're going to need for your egg chickens is a place for them to lay their eggs. Now we use these. These are old, recycled, galvanized metal nest boxes. Now we've got 4 of those things mounted in this mobile coop. Now, the recommendation is that you need a nest box for every 4 or 5 chickens. You don't need a nest box for every single chicken, because what happens is these birds will decide that they really like the looks of one particular nest, and a group of them will go in there and start laying. Chickens are also prone to lay an egg where another egg is. Now with the nest boxes, you want something that is kind of up off the floor. They really need to kind of jump up here. You want something that's soft. We buy these nesting pads. I think I get those on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description down below for those. You want some nesting pads so that it's nice and soft in there. The eggs don't crack. The chickens need to feel like they've got a little bit of a private area that they can go in and take care of their business. And this sort of fits the bill. Now, one thing that we've discovered is they also sometimes like to roost, and so we've got these roosting bars that's mounted on the front of our nesting boxes. So at night when we come in, we see a lot of chickens up here. Those are the only roosting bars we have. The majority of our chickens, they just sleep on the floor, and they do perfectly fine with it. It's not a big deal. If you want to keep your eggs nice and clean, one thing that we do is we close these nest boxes off at night so that the chickens can't get in there. Chickens are going to poo where they sleep. So if you keep them from getting in those nest boxes at night, you're going to end up with some nice, pretty, pristine, poo-free eggs. Nesting boxes. Something else on nesting boxes. It doesn't have to be a formal box that's made just for chickens to nest in. I've seen folks use buckets, milk crates, cardboard boxes. You can use daggone near anything for a chicken for a nest box. They just need to feel like they've got some privacy, have a soft bottom, and some place that they can get to. A little broody hen here, she's not very happy with us hanging around. So nest boxes can be about anything, but you do want to meet a couple of requirements, and that way you'll get plenty of eggs. All right, there they are. Like I say, we've got about 150 or 200 egg layers out here, and this is easily scalable, easy up, easy down, depending on whether you've got want to do a farm, a production farm, selling eggs for a living. Hard to sell eggs for a living, and that's all you do. But anyway, small homestead, backyard flock, whatever the case may be, this is easily scalable up or down depending on what you want to do. I think we've answered some of the questions related to housing, feed, water. There's a lot of benefits from having chickens. Know where your food comes from, self-sustainability, they're fun to watch, they're good for your grass, all kinds of benefits from having chickens around. Eat ticks, bugs, all that kind of thing. But I think that's going to do it. Like we always say, please keep us in your prayers. May God bless you and your families, and we'll see you on the next video.